How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I get to start some of the final assembly for the 7M. Keep in mind that my intake and my intercooler piping I will be taking all off and actually getting it powder coated. Unfortunately couldn't get it done before the end of the year. It got blasted and pre-coated for the candy green, like my bell housing, but the intake started leaching a whole pile of oil and just wasn't able to get it done before the end of the year. So start some of the final assembly. I've already got the drive shaft in and the gearbox crossmember in. Mounts are all on. I've torqued up the crank pulley bolt, so I'll put the trigger wheel on now and then start loading in, well, radiator, intercooler, electric water pump, and you know what, before all of that I'm going to do the power steering, because that's going to be way easier to do now before I get everything else in. So yeah, I'll get the power steering lines on. That pretty much just needs to turn around and go there and go on, and I think I can pretty easily get to that later on. That's the low pressure side of the power steering. Because I haven't actually decided where my power steering reservoir or cooler are going to go yet. So maybe I'll just get that high pressure line on and then I'll do everything else. But yeah, this is the exciting part. All these months of trial and error and putting things on and off a million bloody times. Theoretically they're going on to stay on for at least a little bit. Right, I'm just going to chuck on the crank trigger now. I've done the high pressure power steering hose now. I just made the stupid mistake of opening the bottle with my mouth, the Loctite that is. Just using a low strength one. Kind of tastes exactly as you'd imagine. Quite gross, bit gluey, kind of a little bit of a sweet aftertaste almost, which is probably not ideal for small animals. You know, that's what it is. That's my review on the flavour of Loctite. If you want more reviews on probably cancer causing chemicals in my mouth, maybe I'll start another channel. But for now I'll try and just avoid not to do that again. Like double negatives. Avoid trying to do that again. It's be a wee bit easier if I hadn't misplaced my 8mm socket. Spanners still work, so I'm told. So just going to check the intercooler up now. So just got the Wiggins style clamps. It is all rather tight, to be perfectly honest. I think that side is going to be a little bit easier than this side, because everything's just quite tight to the chassis rail there. So I'll probably slide those onto the intercooler pipes first, and then offer up the intercooler. Got to learn how to do this all. Like, it's been on and off quite a few times, but with the changing of that radiator, I'll be honest, it's not quite exactly how it was, which is a little frustrating, but I'll deal with it. Hopefully there's enough movement within those clamps that everything still goes together okay. But I'm going to try and put the camera down now, and you can see me hopefully not struggle too much getting this together. I'm going to try my best to balance the phone so you can see what I'm doing with these clamps. So there is an O-ring on either side of the intercooler piping, and there is this sleeve that slides over the two, and then there is the clamp itself. There's a little bit of a dick to line up, if I'm to be perfectly honest. But now I just wanted to put it around the other way to hide the fact that these are direct from AliExpress. EP Man, China's finest. But that is it. That is the clamp on. There is a little wiggle room in there, but that is pretty solid. Of course, getting excited, I got ahead of myself. So I had my oil lines tied to the front of the motor to keep them out of the way while I pop them in. But I've just gone and pinched one of those oil lines between the turbo drain and the steering rack. And as far as I can tell, the easiest way to release that will be to pull the motor, which is a little gay. It's not that bad. I mean, it's just for under the engine mounts. I should be able to hopefully pick up the front with a crane just a little bit to get it out. It's New Year's Eve, and there's beers to be had, so oh well. Next year's problem. Not the way I wanted to finish out the year, but it is what it is. Last time I left here, I'd crushed one of the oil lines with the motor when I dropped it in, between the motor and the steering rack. So undid gearbox cross member and dropped that down and managed to tilt the motor so that I could free it up. So I've got a few more things back together now. The only decisions left were to figure out where I wanted to put the power steering. The more I think about it, the more where I had it is really still the best option. It's a little ugly. Just you can have a line run like that and sort of tie it up to the fans out of the way of the belt, just like I used to. But yeah, I think that's probably still the best option. Coils, that's the other thing. So originally in my head, I liked the idea of where my coils were, on the firewall, sort of away a bit from the heat. But I didn't really take into account how wide these are. By the time you stack 6, that's a fair amount of real estate up on that firewall. Not that I need it for anything else, but it is shimmying closer to the exhaust, and it also just might look kind of ugly. I will mock it up again in a minute, but then the other option is I'll make up a plate to run them there. I was avoiding doing this because of, I just wanted to keep them away from the heat a little bit, but at the same time, honestly, everyone on their JZs and whatever runs these coils like this and they're fine, so I don't always have to be weird and different. So yeah, might make up a bracket plate to have them all on there, or I might put them at the back. That is still to be confirmed, though that is going to have to be confirmed relatively quickly because that is one of the last few things. It's pretty much just power steering, and those are the only unknowns. I'm also going to make another intake tube, so I've got another length of 4" with another couple of bends, and I'm going to have like a wet and a dry setup, so I'm going to have it down here so it gets fed cool air by the fog light of the bumper for dry days. Not sure if I'd run that drifting or not, to be perfectly honest. The amount of rubber that gets stuck in the intercooler and everything as it is, I might end up just clogging the air filter out with rubber, but I'll try it. So I have two options. the one that I can mount it just like that for a wet day, and another one where I can mount it further down for a dry day or circuit racing or hill climbs or whatever. Starting to look a bit more like a Supra again with the nose cone on. I think it's sitting down a little. I need to play with the adjustment, but I'll probably get the bumper and the hood on and see how it all fits with that. Car's not perfectly straight anyway, to be honest, so unfortunately it still sits up a bit on that end, which is a bit annoying because I've got a head crash in that corner. But yeah. Right, sorry, I've ploughed on quite a bit here and I haven't filmed a lot. Just trying to get things sorted out before my holiday ends as much as I can anyway. So, in the cabin, the seat is back in, pedals are all mounted, e-throttle, made the bracket so that it bolts up to the factory location for the Bosch Motorsport one. We'll ignore this mess over here. Dash is, well, away. There's no point putting it back in because I might have a version 2 of that cluster with a recess for the power tune coming soon, hopefully. To the engine bay, it is all pretty well done. Just need to hook up starter motor wires. And my kill switch I mounted in the fender upside down, so I've got to flip that. Just a bit annoying, but anyway. Then what else would I need to do? Mount power steering reservoir, find a location for coolant overflow, and yeah, then it's pretty much just onto the wiring. So what I'm going to do is, I've completely connected everything at the moment, so injectors are all on, everything's all on, all sensors are all plugged in, so that everything's in the right place. So what I'm going to do is things like, this is my IAT, so I'll make a label that I'm going to change that plug because I changed the IAT to a newer one and unfortunately they have a different plug. At the same time, I'm not sure if I might need a little extra length on that line, or just actually route it slightly differently. There's a few redundant plugs down inside there. I'll mark those. Just make sure everything's sort of the right lengths, and then I'll pull the harness back off with, yeah, say, labelled and taped guides to where I want to put the plugs for, like, well, pretty much just the e-throttle and fuel pressure sensor and oil temp and gearbox temp. About the only real things that have changed. The injector wiring on the inside is going to have to be changed because I've got low impedance injectors and they are done in currently a batch fire sequence. So I have 3 resistors. I'm going to need to get 6 resistors because they're not going to be going in batch fire, they're going to be doing sequentially. Same with the coils as well. So the wiring will need to be redone on those because it was a waste spark system and now it's going to be 6 individual coils. But yeah, also tested out, well, I got the bonnet on, which is cool, and my new A-frame as well. So whilst the bumper is on, just can hitch up through those rod ends and tow it away, ready to race. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you had a fantastic New Year's. This will probably be in the new year when you see it, so yeah, past tense. I hope you had a fantastic New Year's, and I'll see you in the next video.